What will it take for the people in power to wake up?
Their national plans so far reflect what appears to be a dangerous lack of urgency.
Nobody can today, address climate policy without, being very attentive to the voice of the youth.
The mixed bag of despair, frustration, and hope from COP26. The fancy speeches, protests, and declarations are done for now. But will those promises be turned into real action? In today's Top 5. Welcome to Know This COP26 edition. I'm Alejandro Alba. It's our last day in Glasgow, but negotiations are not over yet. Let's count down and get to the biggest stories you need to know. Starting at number 5, protesters kept the spotlight on their climate change messages throughout the conference in many creative ways. There were massive marches symbolizing solidarity and smaller demonstrations loaded with snark. A group from South Korea dressed like the guards from the hit show Squid Game, going after a Samsung executive as the company is accused of continuing coal projects around the world. There was also this Pokemon protest from Japan demanding an end to coal power. And in Australia, demonstrators build a big koala head to show what will happen to the small marsupial if more is not done to stop the wildfires that endangered the indigenous species. At number 4, looking ahead to COP27 that will be held in Sharm el Sheikh Egypt. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi says it will be a true African conference. Many are expecting the conference to be led by Egyptian Environment Minister Yasmin Fuad, who says her top goal is to make the summit more inclusive to all voices.
Being a president of the COP, it's very important that we would make sure that everyone is consulted, that we have an inclusive process, a transparent process, a meaningful participation of all stakeholders, not the parties to the convention alone, but the civil society, the youth, the children, and definitely above all, the women.
Fuad has been working tirelessly on the sidelines at COP for Egypt's bid to host the next summit. She says the summit will focus on expediting the course of reversing climate change, and she is pushing for more women to take the lead in the decision-making.
This is very important to even send a message to our future generation that combating climate change requires equality.
Number 3, going forward after COP26, what activists say needs to be done, these conversations have to continue. For activist Alicia Gomez, who works to help indigenous communities in the Amazon region of Colombia, that means teaching children early on about the dangers of the climate crisis.
Es crucial y es muy importante, y creo que tenemos que empezar a hacerlo a través de las escuelas, a través de los conectarnos con los profesores, con las universidades e incluso a través desde la familia.
Gomez is the communications coordinator for the association Ambiente y Sociedad. She believes climate change language coming from summits like COP would have more of an impact if it was more relatable, i.e., break it down into layman's terms.
Yo creo que incluso, por ejemplo, hay un tema en todo el tema del Acuerdo de París, hay un tema de terminología muy técnica, que incluso creo que el reto está de nuestro lado, poder comunicarlo y poder traducirlo a un lenguaje mucho más digerible para las comunidades y para los públicos en general, para el ciudadano de a pie, ¿verdad?
At number 2, the challenge from Ugandan climate activist Vanessa Nakate to world leaders, envoys, banks, and corporations.
I'm actually here to beg you to prove us wrong. We desperately need you to prove us wrong.
The 24-year-old speaks for young climate fighters across the planet who want to believe that all of these sweeping pledges will work. But they've been down this road before, and it's a tough sell.
We don't believe that promises made by financial companies to end deforestation will actually prevent trees from being cut or burnt down. We simply don't believe it. But I am here right now to ask business and finance leaders, show us your faithfulness, show us your trustworthiness, show us your honesty.
Nakate has been at the forefront of the climate fight even after she was originally cropped out of a picture by the AP last year, in which she was standing next to 4 white activists. The backlash over the incident solidified her presence as the voice of young Africans fighting for action against global warming.
God help us all if you fail to prove us wrong. God help us.
And at number 1, pledges, promises, and protests at COP26. But in the end, any real progress? That depends on who you ask.
We have come a long way over the past 2 weeks. And now we need that final injection of that can-do spirit, which is present at this COP, so that we get this shared endeavor over the line.
COP26 President Alok Sharma is referring to the recent draft of the COP26 Glasgow Agreement to slash greenhouse gas emissions in half by 2030. The main sticking points include more money and compensation from the rich coal-burning global north. Also still on the negotiation table after 6 long years of discussions, Article 6, the section of the Paris Agreement that focuses on framework around carbon credits. Activists are furious, saying the draft is watered down and is letting these countries off the hook again.
They are trying to protect their interest in fossil fuel investments so that this can give them profit for many more decades to come.
But there were some breakthroughs at COP. India finally admitting it has a serious emissions problem and vowing to net zero by 2070. And the ice between the US and China starting to thaw out, as the nations agreed to work together to scale back emissions.
Net zero pledges require rapid, sustained emissions cuts this decade. And I welcome the recognition of this fact in yesterday's US-China cooperation agreement that I consider an important step in the right direction.
Another step, leaders sounding very serious about vowing to end deforestation, signing off on billions of dollars to protect the world's forests that clean the air. COP26 may be over, but the fight to save the Earth goes on.
We know what must be done.
That's it for Know This at COP26. What was the biggest story for you? Tell me in the comments below. And make sure to follow NowThis Earth for continued COP26 coverage and more environmental news you need to know.